reality. That's Judge Sotomayor, Supreme Court Justice. She wrote that in a decision a little while ago. We started this place because I am sure the idea that a nonprofit organization like College Bound Dorchester, so diverse in its workforce and so steeped in the idea of radically changing the landscape of America in regards to racial inequality and opportunity, is itself an institution of racial inequity, is one that is hard to conceive, and is one I have grappled with as well. I assure you the concept of I don't belong here, as represented by black male CRAs, feelings that I do not have a voice in how this organization is run, is exactly the concept Judge Sotomayor referred to in her decision, and it is the underpinning of racial injustice. This dismissal of our CRA's voices, in particular those who actually are the core influences the organization claims are the key to eliminating poverty in America, represents an extreme level of hypocrisy and has created the level of mistrust and anger that has led to the petitioning by college-bound staff to be recognized as a union. The direct result of years of not having a seat at the table in how the organization is run. What exacerbates the issue is not one person involved in driving the organization, including board members, have any history in working directly with the core influences, the work the CRAs do on a daily basis. At one planning meeting I was invited to, about 15 people were in the room discussing vision-related issues. Although the room was extremely diverse in its makeup as far as office staff goes, there was one black male in the room with a history of working with core influences, and he was an outside consultant. This is our staff here. As CRA coach, I have had a unique perspective over time on how staff arrived at coalescing around the need for a union to represent our interests. Since the inception of Boston and Conard, there has been an ongoing friction between the CRAs and College Bound leadership. When I transitioned over a few years ago, the friction was at its height. I don't want to get into the details here, but in my estimation then, was that leadership's ongoing exclusion of CRA staff in decision-making roles around organizational direction was a core issue, and I made it known at that time. Folks needed to listen to staff, really listen. Really listen. An outside consultant team who also provided clinical service to staff was asked to look at the issue and recommended increased communication and inclusion between upper leadership and staff at that time. Those recommendations fell on deaf ears. 3 years later, when we finally hired an in-house clinician for staff, her first order of business was to attempt to address the very same issues of staff distrust and separation from leadership. Just after raising these issues, she left. The issue of power imbalance and how leadership interacts with our CRAs and other staff is not one to be taken lightly. Most of us of College Bound's black male and female CRA staff have backgrounds of extreme trauma as a result of life on the street and incarceration. The reoccurring feeling of not having a voice, of not feeling welcomed, is one that triggers that trauma in our staff and leads to deep issues of anger, deep frustration, and mistrust that have led us to this moment. Most of the folks talked about the operation. I have basically just a quick educational piece. The power of the organization is up here of a leadership team of 3 and a board of directors who make all the decisions. Those decisions flow down to mid-level and then down to our 13 or so, what I'm looking at right now, black male CRAs. We have a history of trying to make that work. Recently, we brought up 4 emerging leaders to have some mid-level discussions. That room and our ability to keep that room together kept falling apart over the last few months. So much so that we had to start meeting on our own right at the beginning of COVID to start discussing a strategy about how can we handle this situation. These are just what happens in organizations, is what I'm trying to point out. Again, trauma triggers due to the lack of empowerment and voice. During that time, the nights that I spent on the phone in the last year with our staff individually, 2, 3 in the morning, the calls that I would get around not having any way to address this issue in a constructive way was incredible. And that's on top of the folks' own traumas that they deal with on the street on an ongoing basis. My message to the organization, individually and over time, was that response, that trauma response that was getting triggered by lack of voice, was literally taking up 50% of my time with staff, if not more, instead of us focusing on the street and the students that we're responsible for. If you can imagine that. Again, fell on deaf ears. This helped me out a little bit. The teachers, college support staff, all black and brown, go down to the students. But what happens is when this trauma gets happening, the students get left to the side because we're just trying to stay above water. Okay? In order to understand how this has occurred, how CBD structure works, I guess I just saw that. During the last 4 years, on a number of occasions, it was made very clear to me that bringing up serious issues or disagreements with the leadership team in front of CRAs and staff was not acceptable. And I was directed to step back. As recently as a couple of weeks ago, I was admonished as being a staff ally, and I was told I was crossing a line by a membership of the leadership team. In this moment, College Bound team and board leadership team and the board of directors has an opportunity to walk the walk they have talked about, empowering core influences to change America. That's right. By taking a step back, looking in the mirror, and asking the question, why would 100% of the core influences on the team feel the need to organize? From one white privileged Dorchester guy to those white folks and others who hold the power, join me in being an ally and actually follow through on your mission statement that drives Boston Uncornered, right here in your backyard. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you. And I think, it's really important, right, that we uplift our demands and why we're out here today, right? So we're calling on 1, College Bound to reinstate the 8 workers who were illegally terminated, laid off last Friday. And 2, recognize the union. Live up to your mission, right? So we're gonna wrap up the speaking program with 2 last students. We really want to uplift the students' voices, and then we'll be getting on the road to March. So I'm going to pass the mic off real quick now to Brittany Bree. She's on her way. She's going to speak, and then we'll hear from one more student, Matt, and hit the road.
Right, right.
Let's give it up for Bree.
Oh, I never did this before.
You got it.
Okay, yeah, so. Hi, I'm Brittany. Put the mic up. I started about 2 years ago. I had lost my mom and my boyfriend, so I wanted to go back to school, but I was scared to go back to school because I was so involved in the streets. But Elias, which is my big brother, he told me school was important. He pushed me every day. He got me into school. So once I started talking to Mark, they put me uncornered. I started getting a check. I was fine with it. But they didn't help me learn. They didn't care about my learning. As long as I came to school, when the people came for the checks, as long as they only cared when the people came, the white people came. For the money, for the funding. That's what I mean. Like, they never cared about our story. They only told people they cared. But Mark never cared. I don't think I ever even hugged that man. I don't even think I ever hugged that man or him telling me he's sorry for me losing my mother or my boyfriend to the streets. I have a learning disability. He hasn't tried to help me with that. The only person that has helped me was Joe. How can you fire my tutor?
Right.
That doesn't make sense. How can you fire my tutor? I'm pissed off. I don't even want to talk. But I'm only out here because of Joe, Ed, and Ashley. He left a lot of people on staff that shouldn't be on staff. You left a lot of people that do not care. You left people that just walk by us and just look at us like we're just drug addicts or prostitutes or just somebody on the street. We ain't nobody just on the street. We are people. We are human. I'm just a little emotional. Like, I've been homeless. I'm gonna just keep it at 100. Because of this story coming out like this, my family's against it. They're saying I'm a drug addict. I recently just got my kids taken away from me. I'm just gonna put it all on the line because I don't have nothing to hide. They have not once reached out to me or said anything, but they're getting all this funding. I'm homeless. They haven't reached out or said, hey, I'm sorry you lost your kids. We're sorry that your family is doing all this to you. The only person that reached out to me was Ashley, Hannah, and Joe. And Cisco. It doesn't make sense for people to pretend like they care so much when there's other people involved. I'm just tired. And I stand with them.
Yeah.
That's all I had to say. I'm done.
Thank you, Brittany. And I think, I'm pretty sure the building, obviously because of COVID, is not staff working in there, but I'm pretty sure Mark is inside. I think that he can hear us. So I want us to just do a little call and response. I'm gonna say union busing. Y'all say that's disgusting, all right? And make him hear it. Union busing.
That's disgusting.
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 All right, we're gonna pass it off to one last student, Matt Jackson. And it's interesting, I'm sure he'll give his story, but they had him speak at the fundraiser where they raised $650,000. And so we're gonna get an interesting perspective from Matt. So give it up.
Hi everybody, my name is Matthew Jackson, and I want to tell you a little bit about myself before I even came to Uncornered. I grew up in Lenox Street, housing development, in the crack era, and honestly growing up in this city, I was one of the violent drug dealers that everybody sees in the paper. When you hear about murders and you be like, oh damn, he deserved it. I was that guy, I'm not gonna lie. In 2014, my daughter's mom was murdered out in the neighborhood where I grew up in. Throughout my life, I've been to prison. I didn't care. I'm not gonna lie. I just figured yo, this is what I came up in. This is what's destined for me. The day that my daughter's mom died, I knew yo, all I got is my baby. All she has is me. I had to figure out something, not to go back to prison or not to get killed out here. And I'm not gonna lie, this program, they say Uncornered, is based off the core influences. Core influences are people in the neighborhood that they feel could influence other kids who's in trouble or getting into trouble to change their behaviors. And Lewis, Elias, there's other CRAs that's not here, but well done. These guys are real core influences. They're older than me. When I was growing up in the neighborhood doing dumb shit, they were older doing dumb shit, but they changed their lives. So when my daughter's mom was murdered, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I should be running around looking for the killer with a gun. I didn't know if I should be working a job. But people like Elias, people like Lewis, I've been in prison with them. They was telling me like, yo, Matt, live for your kid. Come try this College Bound thing out. I wouldn't have never came to this if Mark Colton walked up to me. So I'm honestly hurt that they're going through this show. I didn't know this was going on because if I knew, I wouldn't have spoke at the gala the other day. And I would have told them I'm not. No, honestly, I just see people getting fired and I'm trying to get my degree because my degree is for human services because I'm really fighting for social justice out here. That's what I'm utilizing this program for. I'm trying to really go back to BYS and get these kids who, when I was at that age, I felt nobody cared. Nobody cared that I was running around with a gun. They'd give me a white caseworker, send me back to my neighborhood. This dude doesn't understand me. So I want to be that person that gets in the way of a kid picking up a gun and murdering somebody out here. And if it wasn't for Lewis and Kenny's my CRA right now. I could call Kenny at 4 in the morning. I wouldn't dare call Mark at 4 in the morning. And I'm not talking bad about Mark or anything. It's just like, yo, when I realized that these people right here are hurting and they're mad, people like Ed, when I come into College Bound and I see fucking Ed's working here, of course I'm gonna buy into this program. Ed's been serving this community for years. I've been hearing about Ed. I met Ed here, and ever since I've been here, these are the people who've been standing behind me. These are the people who've been holding me up. There's been days I done call Kenny crying because my daughter's crying looking for her mother. I don't call Mark about that. I call Ramilda. Ramilda knows my daughter. She used to work here. My daughter looks at Ramilda like an aunt. Like, for real, this is my family here. And I can't believe they're hurting, dog. I cannot believe this. And Mark, if you hear me, this is Matthew. You say you respect me. I respect you. We're men. I don't care about race. I care about humanity, dude. And you know that. Come fix this shit, dude. Right. Come fix it. If they're asking you to listen to them, come listen to them, dude. That's it. That's it. Like, yo, man, I just can't believe that we're even standing out here today. Because if this was even a possibility, I would probably still be on the corner doing something because I would have been like, this program's bullshit. There's younger kids that don't understand this. There's younger guys that 23, 25, they're in a corner. And I understand what that's like when you're in the streets trying to make a decision. And you got people pulling you one way and you're trying to go the other way. These are the people to follow. When I got in this program, the last place I was in a classroom at was in prison, getting a GED. I was 24 years old. I never sat in a classroom past a middle school graduation before that. So coming back into school, I had to learn. The teachers had to get me ready to go to college. Mark didn't sit in the classroom and teach me. He didn't. Michelle didn't sit in the classroom and teach me. Like all my college prep classes, these teachers did. Right. Like they got me back on a college level where I was ready to go into school and not waste my time with remedial classes. Now I'm about to graduate next fall, or this fall coming up. And it's like, yo, they're asking me to come work here. If this is what's going on, I don't want to work here. I don't. So Mark, if you really a man of your word, and you say that you want change in this community, and you want people like me to be involved with it, come and fix this, dude. Like, for real.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you. I apologize for the long speakers program, but there's a lot of people who have a lot of feelings that have been built up for a long time. I think it's important for everybody to have their voice heard. So I'm going to add one more speaker to this list. Ramilda, she worked here for a while. And she was laid off in January. We fought for her, and she's here to show solidarity and talk about her feelings on the matter.
Right, bro. Let's go.
I don't know, but I don't know what else to tell y'all. They told y'all, everything that they told y'all is true and real. I've been saying this since January. So for me, like Sherelle, I'm tired. So what am I gonna tell you that you already don't know? My question is, what are you gonna do about it? What they fail to mention is like, not only do what you heard from Brittany is, and many other people, Matt as well, and there's many other students that are not here today. He exploit these young people. He's exploiting black and brown people in our community. If y'all don't see something wrong with that, it's poverty pimping. You're using a story, you're using their mishaps, their struggles, and you're gaining some type of success out of it, and you're not even helping them. Kenny's here, Q's here, and there's other staff here. I'm gonna tell you a story about a young man, and we're gonna leave his name out. We're gonna make whatever. This kid's name's John Doe. John Doe's going through something. John Doe's on Q's caseload. John Doe just came out the hospital. He was shot in the head.